Well, we've almost done it. Eclipse season, almost over. Hooray! How's everyone feeling? Yeah? Yeah. It happens. It happens to the best of us. It happens seasonally, it happens in phases, it happens in cycles. It's the way life is, right? And the solar eclipse happens on Sunday, the 21st, and it is the final phase of this eclipse season that we've been in. So, just to recap, started with a lunar eclipse, which was the full moon on the 7th. Okay, and now we're having our solar eclipse 2 weeks later because that's when we have our new moons and full moons are 2 weeks apart. And so we are now having our solar eclipse, which happens on a new moon. And this is our solar eclipse in Virgo, and we are clearing everything out. So if you've been feeling like you're in a washing machine, I guess is the best way to put it, in the last 2 weeks or this whole month since September started, because I mean, you feel it as you go into it too, right? We start to feel those energies because we're preparing for it. Our body's feeling that cycle starting. And then we get to the point where we're actually like starting to feel like it's actually happening. And so that was on the 7th. And then we've had that time in between where we're like churning it all up. And now we're about to hit the spin cycle, baby. That last eclipse is happening. And then it's just, we're going to wring it out, tumble dry. Okay. That's my analogy today. Apparently, we're talking washing machines. And, I guess it's kind of fitting. Pisces, on the other side, we're talking, our super deep water intuition feelings. And then Virgo is this rules and understanding the rules and sticking to doing things in a particular way, right? And Pisces is our goal with the flow. And the two of them combined, very washing machine feeling. Gotta say, very washing machine feeling. So what is the deal with the solar eclipse? Okay. Astronomy wise, we've got the sun during the day is going to be out, and then the moon, which is new moon, is going to pass perfectly in between the sun and the earth, and it's going to block out the light of the sun. Not in its entirety. It still has a little bit of a glow, obviously, but it's going to block it out. Okay. Why is this important to know? Why does this have so much energy that we feel? Okay, let's look at tarot. So we have the sun card. This is a happy baby, right? We've got somebody who is out feeling the sun. They're willing to show up. They're excited. They know what's going on. They can see as far as possible. Okay, that's what our sun card represents. Our sun card represents being the fullest, brightest expression of yourself. Way you feel when you want to be your most lit up version of yourself. We got sunflowers which face the sun. We've got a baby who's naked, feeling all the sun on its skin. We have a horse which represents movement, and the fact that they're white means it's pure intentions, right? Okay, so we've got all of this going on the sun card, and the sun very prominent in the sky, shining its rays down on us. This is the sun card. We have the moon card. Now you can see the moon reflects the light of the sun. So we have these same rays kind of coming off the moon. We still have a face, but we have a darker situation. We have things we're not necessarily sure of. We've got our body of water and things climbing out of it because that's what comes out of our subconscious. We have things that come to be from our murky depths. This card is the Pisces card. This is the card that represents Pisces, the moon. Okay. These towers in the distance represent traveling into unknown realms. So we have a baby who is very sure of himself, very much enjoying the light, very much let me shine up and show bright, being eclipsed by things that are unknown, by the unknown path. Now this baby has to figure out how to get where they're going, and they don't have the light shining on them necessarily, right? Because it's supposed to be bright during the daytime, and now it's not. And that can be very unsettling sometimes, right? We think we know exactly where we're going, and then it's like, oh, but what about this? What about this? Right? Something jumps out, and you're like, whoa, I had to consider this other thing. Virgo is the hermit. I've probably talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. The hermit has rules, has guidance. They go off by themselves because they want to be beholden only to themselves. They go off by themselves because they know they have an inner wisdom within themselves. People come seek them out because they want their guidance. They want the way they understand the world. They want some knowing, right? But they have to go to the mountaintop to get them, which means there are rules and steps and safety and all of that that goes along. So the hermit knows, they have an understanding. They're a 9 card. They get to that point where it's like all wrapping up. There's an epiphany that is to happen, right? They know. Okay. Guess what? Pisces knows too, but they know in a different way. They know in this flowing way. They know in this deep, murky, it's living within me and I'm going to pull it out of me type way. They know the way, they can just sense it. It's different, same but different. Same in the sense that there is an inner wisdom that comes in both of these situations. There is an inner knowing. There is an understanding. Same. Different. How do we get there? The hermit is very disciplined. The moon is cycles, but there's times of really being clear and understanding, and there's times of it's dark. What am I doing? How do I know I can keep going? Oh, I need to trust myself? Oh, okay, right? And that can be hard, but it's true. And that's how we're doing. So that is this energy we've been in the past, all this month, for the past entire month, and then especially between the 7th and now, there has been this battle within of which is it? Am I sticking to the rigid, this is how it's going to be, or am I going with the flow on this? Do I need to clear out some of these rules for myself? Do I need to step into other options? Do I need to flow with this? Do I need to trust the cycle? Where is it? What is it going on? Right? And this happens in particular areas of your own astrological chart. And that's the other thing to remember, is that everybody's going through this sense of shifting, changing. Things are being let go of, things are being cleared out, things are being realized. But it's happening in very specific ways for each person. I've talked about, for me, it's in my house of career, business, most seenness. That house is ruled by Virgo for me. Okay. And then it's happening in my house of home, my rootedness, where I am. That's ruled by Pisces for me. Everybody's chart is different. You may have no planets in either of those houses. I don't. There's nothing for me in those, as far as planetary actors in those spaces. My 10th house has my midheaven, which again is that highest point of my chart where it's like, this is how you're seen. This is how people see you. This is where you present yourself in the world. Okay. Right. And then my house of home is still my house of home. It's still my rootedness, my understanding, my being core of myself. Where do I live and how do I fill my home? Okay. That is still a thing. And there are things that pass through that. Right now, the sun is in Virgo. So the sun is in that house of showing up for me. Okay. And so you are probably going through your own version of this, right? We're going through the cycles. We're going through, I pulled the death card the other day in my tarot and coffee readings. Tarot and coffee reading, daily reading, which I went back to. I hadn't been doing that. And part of this eclipse cycle has been like, Well, but what is at your core do you love doing? And actually reading a card every day and being able to share that information is really nice. I do like the structure of that and the flow that comes from it. There's a combo of it. It's a structure of me reading a card every day. It's a flow of not knowing what's going to really come out of it, right? And what it might inspire. And so it's that tower feeling of coming back to oneself. That was, what I talked about in the first eclipse episode. The tower tears down, but then also there's this feeling of death, and death is about cycles. The tower is a spark of an inspiration of like, oh my goodness, I need to do this thing, and it could all come crumbling down, right? Death shows up more at the end of an arc, and you sometimes don't see it coming, but overall you know that everything goes through birth, life, death. It's going to happen. Everything in this world ends up dying because that's what has to happen. We don't live indefinitely. Nothing does. Our soul does, but that's not our body. Our body will eventually end. We see it in nature. We see it in the cycles of nature. Where I am, we're at the end of summer. That's the other thing that happens on the 22nd, is that we move from summer into fall. Okay. That is when the equinox happens. Okay. So we're moving out of our summer into our fall, and we're going to start cycling into darker periods of day, right? The days they've been getting shorter, but they'll be like really peak. You can tell, right? And we're moving into autumn. We're moving into seeing the fact that the trees are losing their leaves. They're starting to change their colors because the trees know they're not needed anymore. Cycles. And this is why eclipse season is so important, because it reminds us of these cycles. It reminds us that we live in cycles. Even if we're not paying attention to it, it's happening. Even if we're not paying attention to the seasonal cycles, they happen regardless. They happen no matter what. Even if we're not paying attention to our own inner cycles, they happen. We may not be aware of them or choosing to engage with them, but it's still happening. That's why astrology is so enjoyable for me to pay attention to. I don't consider myself an astrologer because I don't read charts that way, but I do consider myself someone who understands how the cycles are playing out. I am a systems kind of person. I am a cycles kind of person. I love seeing the big picture and how it all fits together and molds together. That's why I love tarot. Because there's a system and a cycle. This tarot ties to numbers, it ties to colors, it ties to astrology, it ties to life, all of those things. It ties to our intuition, right? And so, even if you don't know what's happening, it's happening. We can bury our head in the sand and think that it doesn't happen. And then suddenly someone goes out and has a midlife crisis, and you're like, oh, well, if you talk to an astrologer, they could probably tell you what's going on in your chart that actually makes that happen, right? Because we see these cycles playing out in person after person after person. And there is a thing, there's a reason it happens. And when we choose to do things like look at tarot cards or look at our astrological chart or consider human design, which looks at a lot of different things all together, right? When we choose to use divination tools, really, we're just trying to tap back into ourselves at a deeper level. Because if we ignore that, if we ignore our deeper levels, yeah, we make it through the world just fine. But could it be more? Could life be richer? There be more of an understanding? Even if you can't necessarily always feel like you're in control, does knowing actually help you get through it better? Probably. It's why people like religion so much, right? That's why organized religions exist, because somebody has decided that it's easier to follow along and understand systems and have someone tell them how does it all work, right? And there are plenty of people who use tarot and astrology and human design and whatever in that way too, right? Just tell me what I need to know, right? But if you're actually willing to sit with the cycles yourself in your own body to witness the astrological, just our fall, the fact that the leaves are changing outside, right? It's starting to get darker outside earlier. Okay, what does that mean? How can I attune to that? How can I be a part of everything that's around me and not just me? There's more to me than just this body, right? There's more. And paying attention to the eclipse cycle, like I have focused, there's so many things I enjoy talking about, but eclipses just always stir that excitement in me of like, this is important. We should be paying attention to this. Astrology is not even my main jam, and yet I know it's so important that I have dedicated everything I've been talking to this month about eclipses, because they are key points every year we have where it's like things can get really shook up, but also it's almost an invitation. You know it's happening, and you say, hey, how can I make the most of this? I mean, that's what I did when I graduated college. It was like, hey, this is a key point in my life. I am at a hallway with doors. I'm graduating college. This can be a perfect moment for me to take a totally different step than maybe I would have used to be doing. It was a threshold that I could cross in whatever way I wanted, because it felt like a very clear delineator, right? It was like, hey, I have lived in New England all of my life. I just spent the past 4 years in Boston, 5 years in Boston. I'm graduating. I am going to go find a job based on this thing I have been studying. I could get a job anywhere. And suddenly it was like this, oh my goodness, I can use this to springboard into anything I would like to springboard into. Eclipses are the same thing. It gives you permission to look at that area in your chart and go, what can I do with this? How can I shift this? This is my springboard into a shift. And so even though graduating college can be really scary because it's like, oh no, what do I do now? Or starting college. We just, school started just recently, right? For most people, it starts in September. And it's like, oh, this is a key point. I can decide what I want to do from here. What do I want to study? Where do I want to go? What is this? And here's the secret. You can do that at any point in time. Really. Every breath you take is an opportunity to springboard into something new. It can be scary and unknowing and all of that, but still, eclipses give you that guidance of, hey, you really want to make a shift? Right now, we're going to shake up what it might look like to be speaking publicly, what your public life looks like, what people perceive of you as far as your career goes. We're going to give you a chance to shake it up right now. Okay? It's been 9 years since you really took a look at this. Let's really look at it. Let's focus in on that. And so it's been fantastic. There have been days that it's felt really exhausting. That washing machine, it can feel like a lot to be churned around and to figure it all out. But it takes actually being willing to sit with it and know this is how I want to make shifts. I have the opportunity right now. I can do whatever I want. In this space, I'm being offered the opportunity to take a leap. Am I going to take it? Or is the world just going to figure it out for me? Is the universe just going to figure it out for me? right? So this is your opportunity to make those shifts, to make that change, to make a choice, okay? And so it's just a reminder, if things have been feeling tough, really take an opportunity to sit and be with it, because we don't want to run away from it. We run away from it, it's still going to chase us down. We may think we're safe from whatever's going on, but it's still going to find a way to come towards us, because that's what's going on in our life right now. And so if you gave yourself the opportunity to actually sit with the discomfort, sit with the changes, sit with what's going on, so that you can then make a choice in a direction that works for you. Okay? That is what I am suggesting we do when it comes to this new season happening. Now, I will put down in the comments or in the description, if you know your rising astrological sign, I will put the pairings of which houses this eclipse has been hitting for you, and you can let me know if it actually is hitting that way or not. Take the time to actually consider what has been happening in that area of your life over the past 2 weeks. And then also maybe what happened in March. In March, we started this cycle. Okay. And so really consider it, because when we take the time to consider, we can actually make active changes in our life. We can be a participant in our life. That's what I love about tarot, is it nudges me to go, okay, I know I want to be a participant in this eclipse. I know I want to make shifts in my career. What is it that I'm trying to shift out of or shift towards or make a difference? That is so helpful. And then you can actually participate in your life and not just let it flow. We're still flowing. There's still the flow of life, but we actually get to participate in it. And I think that is absolutely beautiful. So let's pull a card, single card for working with the energy that's coming up, especially with the eclipse that will be here on Sunday, right? How can we best work with this eclipse energy? How can we best work with it? Let's see. We have the Six of Swords. Now, when the Six of Swords comes up, swords are about our thoughts. The swords are about how we say things and how we think about things. When we talk about the swords, sometimes it comes off really harsh. And when you think about the people who created tarot and who's been using it, it's very much people who were very much into figuring out how to control your thoughts and using meditation to clear your thoughts, which is valid. But also, our thoughts are not bad. It's just working with our thoughts in a way that actually helps us, because sometimes we don't pay attention to our thoughts, and then we end up being hurt by them because we let them kind of steal the show. And they are not the only players in this show of life, right? So when the Six of Swords shows up, it is a reminder that when you have those thoughts, like if you start thinking about what's going on right now, and when the eclipse shows up and the aftermath of all of this shakeout, right? And it starts to feel overwhelming in your thought spaces, there are people who will support you. There are people who will help guide you if you need it, right? And sometimes we have a really hard time asking for that support and asking for that guidance. But sometimes it's really just I need to get all of this out of my head because it feels so overwhelming. Do you mind if we just have some coffee and chat? And this other person is just the person who's there to help you, help witness you. because sometimes that's all you need. You need someone to witness you as you kind of just blurt out all of these thoughts that's been on your brain. And then you're like, oh, I see where we're going with this now. And then you can clear it all out. And then you understand the path you are taking. Okay. Swords are about thoughts. Sixes are about our support systems and really figuring out that how we're going about doing things and how can we be in harmony and supported by our thoughts. Okay, do we need somebody else to help us with that, right? Often there is another person involved when it comes to the sixes, because you're actually realizing you can support others and you can be supported. And we do that in balance. Not only do we support others, we find support for ourselves. Okay. And with the swords, it's all about those words and thoughts and just getting it out there so that you can feel more in flow again. Okay. Right. Most of our swords also contain the element of water somewhere on the card, because our thoughts tend to be tied to our emotions. But when we know that we're able to pay attention to our thoughts and sort through our thoughts and really understand them, not banish them, but understand what happens with our thoughts and why they're happening, then we're able to flow with them better. Meditation itself is not normally the idea where we're not, people don't like to meditate sometimes because they say, oh, but I'm constantly thinking. I'm obviously doing it wrong. I'm thinking. And the thinking is not the problem. It's the attaching ourselves to the thinking. So it's allowing the thoughts to float through and allowing ourselves to let that go and say, oh, okay, that was a thought. And then to be able to sort through it and go, okay, that thought was helpful. Oh, that thought, thank you for showing up, but you're not where I need to be going with this right now. Okay. And so that's why when the Six of Swords shows up, sometimes we need someone to help us with that sorting out, right? And so that's where the Six of Swords shows up, because it's like, hey, I have all these thoughts. I just need to kind of speak them out loud with someone. Okay. And then sometimes just the speaking out loud is enough. Sometimes we need someone to go, really? That's what you're thinking? Because this is how I'm seeing it. Right. And they'll share you with you their perspective and they'll share their thoughts. And then you'll be able to then integrate the two together. Okay, does this agree with how I'm thinking? Does this not agree? But that integration key is important, because it's like, okay, I need to know how this feels for me with this truth. Is this truth the truth, or is this truth just noise? Is this extra? Is this trying to help me in a way that is not actually helpful? But it's just me trying to help myself. That often shows up, right? Sometimes the thoughts think they're helping us, right? The thoughts show up because it's like, oh, well, we don't need to get ourselves hurt. So let's think about this instead. Let's worry, because if we think about all the ways this could play out, then we won't fall into, danger. But instead, we're just living it out without actually asking ourselves if it's true or not. Okay. And so that is the thing about eclipse season too. Let's cycle that back. Eclipses are not something to be afraid of. It's something to pay attention to so that you can understand it and then work through, okay, what is this showing for me? What is this bringing up for me? What does this allow me to do? Right? So if to be able to do that, you would like support, the Six of Swords suggests, hey, talk through this with somebody else instead of just letting it all cycle in your head. So that is your advice as we move into eclipse season. I am doing this weekly. Obviously, this is now my third one in season 2. I also have a Patreon where I write out thoughts throughout the week. Normally a little bit different, normally similar vibes to what happens in the podcast, but not always exactly the same. Sometimes I also write a little bit more frequently. And so my Patreon has that. And then I'm still offering eclipse readings through the end of the month because, yes, they are happening. It happened on the 7th, it happens on the 21st, but readings help you again work through the lessons, work through what's going on, and actually points towards, hey, this is an actionable step you can take to make sure that you're working through the energy in a way that is beneficial for you, and doesn't make you feel overwhelmed in any of that. So eclipse readings still available. And we'll see what I talk about next week. I do not have a plan yet. It may just be an eclipse wrap up, probably. Might as well keep all September episodes having to do with the eclipse. Yeah, still going to be September next week. Just double checking. So thank you for joining me here on Magical Reawakening Radio. And I look forward to talking with you next week. Stay sane, stay grounded. Don't let those thoughts overwhelm you too much. Good luck. And hopefully I will talk with you before the next radio. If you're in on the socials with me or in my Patreon, I will see you there. Sending you love and magic as always. Bye for now.